It all started with a parrot. Not just any parrot, a brilliantly plumed African gray named Maxwell who had spent most of his life mimicking his elderly owner's political rants. He'd yell things like, "Raise the wages," and "ban the leaf blower," so convincingly that he once accidentally won an argument with a city council robocall. The real change, however, came after the Global Sapience Act of 2037. Originally intended to recognize the intelligence of dolphins and elephants, the law took an unexpected turn when the Sapience Inclusion Amendment passed. It stated that any sentient being capable of learning, adapting, and communicating complex thoughts had a right to representation. Suddenly, animals could vote. At first, no one took it seriously. After all, how would a goldfish vote? What would a goat care about tax brackets? But soon activist groups emerged. The Interspecies Voting Alliance trained animals in symbol recognition, touchscreen use, and decision-making models. Crows submitted thoughtful essays using pebbles and keyboards. Dolphins attended debate circles via underwater communication terminals. Chimps held political rallies using drums and signs. A cat in Tokyo even ran a podcast called Politics Today. Human politicians were horrified, or fascinated, or both. The 2040 global election cycle was the first to include the animal vote, and turnout was wild, literally. Bees voted by dancing. Octopuses used shapeboards. Horses were given large buttons to stomp, each representing a policy or candidate. Data scientists and translators verified their choices. The process was chaotic, expensive, and undeniably beautiful. The first major shift came when cows across the Midwest unanimously voted against the expansion of slaughterhouses. Legislation changed overnight. Meat consumption plummeted. Suddenly, plant-based companies skyrocketed on the stock market. Chickens voted for stricter egg industry regulations. Pigs demanded mandatory mental enrichment in captivity. The fishing industry collapsed when 90% of aquatic voters declared themselves anti-hook. Not all species agreed, of course. Domesticated dogs leaned conservative, preferring policies that emphasized loyalty, order, and abundant snack provisions. Cats voted erratically, libertarian one year, socialist the next, guided mostly by personal whims and sunbeam access. Monkeys voted for universal playgrounds. Owls leaned technocratic. Pandas rarely voted at all, but when they did, they always voted for longer nap times. With the animal vote now making up nearly 60% of the global electorate, campaigns changed drastically. Politicians began learning birdsong. One even hired a dolphin as a speech coach. Debates included live translation into barks, moos, and echolocation pulses. The first all-species presidential debate took place in a stadium with holographic forest backdrops, pools, and scratching posts. A beagle moderator named Lucy asked the final question: "What would your administration do to ensure fair ball distribution?" Media adapted too. News networks launched animal-focused channels. Fox and Hound featured daily political news for canines. Al Jazeera covered camel and goat perspectives in the Middle East. TikTok exploded with squirrel reaction videos to proposed zoning laws. There were challenges. Fraud was rampant at first. Raccoons voted multiple times using fake identities, and parrots often mimicked human voters to mess with the system. But biometric scanning, scent-based ID badges, and advanced pattern recognition slowly stabilized the chaos. Then came the Animal Party. A coalition of various species formed the first interspecies political movement. Their manifesto? Protection of habitats, ethical food systems, mandatory nap times, and an end to cruelty. Their slogan: "One planet, all voices." A sea lion named Noko became their symbolic leader, charismatic, photogenic, and a strong advocate for oceanic plastic bans. By 2052, the Animal Party controlled several national parliaments. Human politicians were either adapting or retiring. Skeptics grumbled that animals didn't pay taxes, couldn't grasp macroeconomics, or didn't care about zoning reform. But they missed the point. Animals voted not just out of self-interest, but instinctive balance. Bees didn't need GDP charts to know the planet was sick. Wolves didn't require sociology degrees to sense broken communities. Parrots didn't need campaign donors, they just repeated the truth until someone listened, and slowly, the world began to change. Cities built vertical gardens for pigeons and people alike. Oceans were cleaner. Forests began returning. Politics became less about dominance and more about cohabitation. Arguments still happened, of course, especially between squirrels and traffic planners, but they felt different. Quieter. Wiser, and every so often, in a quiet courtroom or bustling voting hall, someone would remember Maxwell the parrot, whose first official vote was more crackers, fewer lies, and they'd smile because in that strange new world, even the smallest voice could echo loud enough to change everything.